Hi, everyone. I'm Bleu Cease. I'm the executive director of the Rochester Contemporary Art Center, and I'm thrilled to welcome you all to today's talk with Kelli S Williams and Jake Brush, artists featured in our current exhibition, Authenticity as Illusion. This program is curated by Myles Calvert, who you will also hear from tonight. Those of you who are new to our organization, RoCo was founded in 1977. We have a long history of supporting artists who are addressing important social and political issues through their work. We elevate underrepresented artists from our community, and we also bring new artists to Rochester, which is the case with this exhibition. We also collaborate with great regional and national organizations to do this work, and that is also the case with this exhibition, presented in partnership with Alfred University's Institute for Electronic Art. Right now, our suite of exhibitions in the galleries is representative of our mission. Ann Havens and Sue Havens presents a terrific Rochester mother-daughter artistic duo. Lifelong Bills fan by Paul Nicholson is a terrific installation in which the artist melds his own processes of mourning the loss of his mother, who loved the Buffalo Bills, of course, with Western New York football fan culture into this terrific and thoughtful consideration of grief and loss. Our public art installation, Naya Panes by W. Michelle Harris, honors several of Rochester's important, though still lesser known, African American activists from the turn of the century. And this project, of course, is available 24/7 outdoors on the side of our building. Forthcoming, some of you may know our annual 6x6 fundraiser features thousands of artworks from all around the world, and entries are due April 4th or mailed by April 7th. So you still have time to participate. I hope everyone attending today's event will make an artwork and participate in this terrific global celebration of creativity and support for the arts right here in Rochester. The show will take place this summer. I have a couple thank yous I really want to share from the bottom of my heart. None of our programming here at RoCo would be possible without our dedicated, as they say, small but mighty team. Alyssa and Jess are administering today's program, and our extended team of staff and volunteers just do so much to make this organization work. And I'm incredibly grateful for their efforts in organizing and promoting all of our exhibitions and programs. I invite everyone on the call today to learn more about our current and future programs. Our website is rochestercontemporary.org. All of our programs here are supported by the New York State Council on the Arts, Monroe County Farish Foundation, Richard and Vicki Schwartz, and members like you. We have about 1,000 members. So those of you who are on the call, not yet a member, I hope you'll consider joining RoCo and supporting all that we do. You're seeing some input into the chat right now. Closed captioning is enabled for the talk. If you're having any trouble turning that, I'll help you with that. Additionally, please utilize the chat for questions. We will hold those until the end, and Myles and I will serve those up to the artists. We will keep the program to about an hour 15. And the program is also being recorded today. If you have to duck out early, you can come to our website later on and view the full program. This exhibition is the 6th collaboration between RoCo and the IEA. And we just love what the IEA brings to Alfred and the region. And we're honored to transport a bit of that energy to Rochester, presenting these programs to our audiences on a regular basis. The Institute for Electronic Arts director and curator of this exhibition is Myles Calvert. Myles was born in Collingwood, Ontario. He attended University of Guelph and with a focus in printmaking before traveling to London, where he completed an MA in printmaking, and that was at Camberwell. So in addition to this terrific curatorial and administrative work that Myles is doing at Alfred, he's really a significant exhibiting artist with a long resume, of which we are pleased to say Myles has been included in a number of our exhibitions here at RoCo. Myles, thank you for your curatorial work, your creative work, your organizational work, bringing this exhibition to RoCo and to our audiences. Welcome. Please take the mic.
Blue, thank you so much. Welcome everyone, and a huge thank you to RoCo and the entire staff for putting this together. It's such a generous and fruitful annual collaboration that we've developed, and I'm appreciative for it all. We're always excited to spread the word and promote artists who are involved with the IEA further beyond the remote location that is Alfred, New York. As part of our mission, we aim to promote our artist alumni. We often have artists in residence back through different programming opportunities, such as this one. So, since our founding in 1997, there have been roughly over 300 artists engaging with us at Alfred University, which gives us a phenomenal resource to really curate from. This also means that next year we'll be celebrating 30 years. So, we'll have to come up with some special programming for that as well. I was very excited to come across Kelli S Williams and Jake Brush. I instantly saw connections with their body of works, but wanted to really hone in on their use of camera and video and processes they both use incredibly differently to express identities or versions of self so uniquely. So when I mention versions of self, I'm considering the various ways one could view oneself. So realistically, skewed, the good days, the bad days, temperaments in the moment, the idealized self, public facing, the privacy of home, what is authentic and what is an illusion. The list goes on and on and on. I have some very specific questions for each of these artists, but I'm going to hold them back until after we hear from both of them. So thank you again for this collaboration and to Kelli and Jake for your involvement this evening.
All right, hello everybody. So my name is Kelli Williams, and I am one of the artists in the show. In my work, I usually like to start off by just introducing all the aspects of my practice, all the different types of ways that I use. Essentially, lens-based media. I started off as a photographer, and then I moved to stop motion, in various forms of stop motion and augmented reality, and all extension through photography. In my body of work, I do kind of commission-based work. Usually that's and work that's within the community. All work around themes of social justice, things like Black Lives Matter. But in my personal practice, I work in a mix of stop motion animation and various outputs of digital media, like augmented reality, or through projection work, installation work. Next slide, please. All right, and so I always start off with this slide because I feel like this really is what anchors my practice and really got me interested in how we think about how we craft identity on social media. I feel like I always like to say that I grew up with social media. I feel like I saw the start of it and seeing the evolution of how social media has changed. And I was really excited about the idea of how we create spaces in social media. And one of my first kind of ideas of creating space is when I was on MySpace, and I created this kind of pop art version of Zac Efron. And there is where I really started to think about like how I can integrate my practice with it. But I was also interested in how we use it. I really quickly became infatuated with how you can create community on social media. That's the first place I came out as a queer person, and it's also the place where I've experienced overt racism. And I was really interested in like this like duality of this really terrible dark side of social media, and then this great place where you can start to create identity and connect with people like you. And so, next slide, please. So then I was really thinking about how social media affects identity. And I started to just process pretty much the negative sides of social media. I had several series where I thought about this idea of performative nature of social media activism. Then I thought about, what we value in social media, thinking about how we craft social media. And until my kind of current project, which is one of the projects that actually kind of launched a new thinking of how I think about social media, which is the piece in the gallery now, in the museum now. um, I really started to think about just how social media and information and identity was created. So in my project um, that's in the museum right now, it's next slide, please. I'm always used to clicking my own slides. Um, this is one piece that really changed how I thought. All right, so that was just a short clip from my short film feed. And this came at a time in my practice when I said I was actually done talking about social media. I was like, I want to do a short film. I want it to be a horror film. I really want to dive into the kind of horror nature of stop motion. And I kept finding my way back to stop to thinking about how social media is affecting how we view just the daily lives. Like it now became it was a shift between being critical of it and now just understanding that social media is so woven into our everyday lives that it is no kind of good or bad. It just kind of is. And I was fascinated in just thinking about how, what that means for our society at the time. And so that led me to my next couple projects. Next slide, please. This is another still from that. The next slide, please. And so that led to my next project. This is true. And This is True was that kind of first project that showed a shift in thinking about social media. And it made me really think about, I feel like instead of this social media self and this kind of existing, that social media was just so woven into our everyday lives that it was almost like we were living in this kind of hybrid version of reality. And that's where this short animated series came called This Is True. And this idea came during the 2016 elections when it was really apparent how social media affected it in the form. And so I wanted to use this particular project to think about some of these conversations we were having in social media, things like appropriation, things like the Black Lives Matter movement and how that was mobilized through social media, things like how we craft identity. And this was all done through a kind of sketch comedy lens. I really love things that's kind of humorous, but also kind of has a point. I was studying people like Key and Peele and Dave Chappelle and thinking about how they craft these narratives that are meant to make you laugh, but also meant to make you think a little bit. Next slide, please. All right, and so that led me to my next project, Onlooker. And this is a project where I really started to think about how we use social media to craft like this idea of the virtual self and identity and performance. And this is when I started to really think about how to of exploration with now showing my stop motion animation. This is an animated series that includes augmented reality, where when you hold up the phone, it actually triggers the animation. All of these characters are the same character, and they're all represented, kind of underrepresented, kind of subsets of Black identity. All that kind of reflect myself, but also all that reflect these communities that became a little bit more attainable to me through social media. I mean, also the title of the piece is called Onlooker, where the title actually is referring to the looker, um, and not the actual puppet itself. And thinking about who has the power in social media. Is it the audience, the people, who's this kind of voyeuristic nature of social media, or is it the person? And I also think about just how Black culture is also commodified through social media as well. Next slide, please. All right, and so that leads me to my most recent body of work. And this body of work is called Kids in America. And it's kind of an installation that involves prints that has stop motion animation and augmented reality. And this came during the pandemic where I was really thinking about death a lot, funny enough, which is funny because it's this really hot pink pop art version of a very poppy looking piece, but it really stemmed from thinking of like death and aging in this kind of age of social media. And also my kind of comfort during the pandemic was really these 2000s and late 90s teen films like Clueless and um, I can't remember the name of the cheerleader movie, Bring It On, and all of these Mean Girls. All of these movies became my comfort films, and I really started to think about this idea of how they could only be one character. The person was the mean girl, the dumb person was the dumb person, and they had no kind of nuance. And kind of comparing that to how we craft these kind of virtual selves. And so that's a stop motion augmented reality series that I'm continuing to build. And this was also the first time when I started to think about how we actually physically pull away puppet parts and thinking about this actual, kind of leaning into the fact that I build these puppets as a kind of metaphor for how we craft ourselves. And so the puppets actually dissemble in the series and just put themselves back together and all through this kind of augmented reality experience. All right, so that's all I have for you all. I love any questions you have about my process or anything soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. That was great. It was so nice to hear about your practice and to see the similarities between what we're both doing, even though it's has their differences. It's fun. We were on a call shortly before this, and I said there's like a horrifying cuteness to stop motion that I'm also sort of into. Um, so yeah, but this how I broke up the slides was we're just gonna go sort of by project, and I'll talk a little bit about them. I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes. I don't want to go over. I can kind of talk a lot. So this first project is laundry detergent. It's this I have been making video work for a really long time. I started making video projects when I was like in high school. But this was the first project that I felt like really encapsulated what I wanted to do with my practice, with my like it felt like the truest form of this thing I had been trying to access. And so the project follows these three women who are on like a never-ending vacation, but they're all like the same person, right? And so when we're thinking about authenticity, it's like they're all authentically believe that they're the same person. They just aren't, right? And the other thing with authenticity that I was thinking about is like sensitivity, and a big part of this video is that they like are compulsively admitting these things to each other about familial trauma and abuse, and there's this competition element that starts forming between the three players involved almost. I'm really into reality TV. The script for this was like a pretty direct rip off of a woman who was on the show Big Brother, like maybe 10 or 15 years ago. She had not said any of these things on the show, but she had said them on the live feeds of the show, because the show has this internet component to it, and there's this trace of what she would say on the internet. And so I used that for the script and sort of fleshed it out and adapted it. So it's like authentically, like all of my work kind of is about being a fan of these other genres, right? Or these other characters or real people that I've like adapted to mix in with myself. So I can sort of say things that maybe I wouldn't be able to say as just me. Next slide, please. So this is an example of sort of like how the project was intended to be installed. So it's shot in this like tiled way between the three women. I'm the one in the purple dress. And yeah, this was sort of like a one night thing that ended up happening. But the thing about being an artist is like if you just get like a good shot and send it to people, people kind of don't know that it was only up for one night. And so my friend Cody did this like amazing program and I got to be a part of it, which was wonderful. And then, yeah, now I have these cool images I can send to people and be like, hey, RoCo, let's do this. Or somewhere else, whatever. But yeah, so this is sort of like how the video would be installed optimally. Again, this was just for like an evening screening, but it was pretty fun and it was cool to see it all together. Next slide, please. This is sorry, I forgot this picture's insane. So this project, yeah, following in with that authenticity thing. It's like I had ferrets for a very long time, pet ferrets, and the place where I had got the ferrets from was this pet store on Long Island called Parrots of the World, and the owner of that pet store was a local celebrity. Like he was on Channel 12, and he ended up being friends with Martha Stewart, and he was making these shows about pets, but unfortunately, like it was really haphazard and the animals would like fall off the table and it was like a mess. People would call and prank him and uh, I wanted to do something about him and about my relationship to pet ownership because I felt so like conflicted about it. I would go there and just imagine like how horrible all the animals feel in the cages. And then you've got this like bizarre man that's sort of taking care of them. And so in the video, I play like a deranged fan who like believes they're him. A lot of the animals in his pet store had like growths and tumors from mass production. And so I made these like face cheek things that are different sizes throughout the video. And then, yeah, so the project was originally a pretty direct proposal to the Shed for their open call in 2023. And what's nice about how that one was like, you write the proposal and it's a sort of simpler approach to like, this project will be about this guy, A to B. And then I took it after I had gotten the money and really stretched it out and like did a bunch of other things with it that I truly, really felt were like a better fit for my world. And so there's all these like side characters and arcs, and the whole video just sort of explains like neurotic pet ownership in association with like people who are obsessing about the details of this pet owner or this pet store owner's life. Like they're all sort of thinking about Mark Marone constantly. And this was a tricky one because I was like, he's a real person. Like, what if he finds out? Like, what if he, whatever? Like, at the end of the day, it's like I'm just another artist in Brooklyn. Like, no one is stop. You know what I mean? Like, nothing's gonna happen. I ended up asking him if it was cool if I did this, and he said it was. He said yes. And but he said he would never go see it or look it up. And I was like, even better. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a more recent video that I've made. A lot going on in here. So This Unremarkable Life, I'll start by saying it's screening at Anthology Film Archive on April 4th. If anybody is in New York City, it's at 8 p.m. I'll be doing a Q&A after. But this project was originally a video essay. It was about hoarders. So that's me in the center with that really nice wig made by my friend Sean Bennett. And it was originally going to be a video essay where I had taken the transcription from an episode of Hoarders and like really reworked it into like a long form poem that is like kind of cutting and mean. and self-deprecating, but not really that self-deprecating. Like this character is pretty cold and controlling. Uh, but anyway, it was like between when I was doing laundry detergent and Peppery, right? So it's got that reality TV fandom thing of laundry detergent, and then it's got the pet ownership of Peppery because the Hoarders episode was focused on a man who was hoarding pet rats, right? And so I had filmed this thing in the middle of that, like thinking it would maybe go into Peppery or maybe it would even be part of laundry detergent. And then I had never used it. And then I came back to it and I just saw this script and this, oh, at that point, this performance of me on this green screen reciting these lines, and just felt like the character was talking around a situation, like she was sort of guarding this story that was happening. And so I went back and revisited the material and wrote this larger story with these other characters that you see on the right side of the screen. So the top is a influencer for men. The middle one is a beauty queen having a birthday party, and then the bottom one is just some other thing is happening. So yeah, it had sort of became like this character that I was playing became this almost like the warden of this arena of different reality TV characters and different internet people that had sort of melted together, and they would like take the narrative over and would circulate sort of around. And the story does progress in a way, but it plays like in a loop, a perfect loop. So it actually just restarts at the end of it. I cut another version of it for screening purposes that's got like a title card and credits, but I think I'm gonna stop using that one because I like when it goes in a loop. It feels more accurate. Next slide, please. Okay, so Mall Interrupted, this is what is showing at RoCo. So this video was originally commissioned by Vonk in 2024, which they are a nonprofit in Belgium, and in Europe they just like give organizations money to make art. It doesn't make sense to me as an American, but it sounds, it sounds nice. So that's kind of like how this happens, just to sort of like unveil, like that's why there's like a 19-foot by 6-foot screen in this exhibition. The video was made as a site-specific project. They were very generous with this mall that they had control over in this small town, Hasselt. And the mall was like, they were talking to me about like maybe like reworking it or cleaning up the space a little bit. And I was like, no, I really like that it's run down. Like I really like it for how it is. I like that it's like a carcass of this thing. And although like they had a different use for it in Europe, I think it used to be a bookstore. It reminded me so much of malls in America. And so I wanted to make a mall video, right? And I knew that going into this, it would be this orientation, this vertical thing, and you would walk into this mall and you would be welcomed by it. So that's my 10 minutes. So I'm going to be a little bit quicker. But you would walk in, you would see the video. And so I wanted to create a project about like an ex-child star or a star that now works at a mall. And so I landed on Amanda Bynes because she had this show, The Amanda Show, where like every time she would come out onto the stage, she would be interrupted by an audience member, and she'd be greeting people and welcoming them into her show, but like the control would be taken away from her. And so similar to these other projects, I had like made a transcription of all those interruptions and all those skits and replaced them with things in my life that felt like interruptions, right? So I think but they're like funny. It's funny, but it's very dark. Yeah, next slide. I am an artist. I am an actress. Boys my age deliver me pizza and flowers. I don't know what my name is. Everyone in my audience has my cell phone number.
I go to open my show, but I'm interrupted. A large crate arrives on stage. It contains my biggest fan, who is also me. I never actually meet myself.
I want to solve the problems in my audience. A boy whose sister is terminally ill, a woman who is an IV drug user, and a man whose lawnmower will not start. Many people have manipulated me into putting on a wig.
I tell a joke, but my audience does not laugh.
They must not speak English.
This time it's English. Next time, karate.
I want to have a successful boy band on my show, but its original members
Are now dead. Musicians tend to be very superficial people. I do not cry for them.
I go to pull out another joke about food, but my biggest fan, who is also me, appears instead. She is held hostage.
There she is. Is that my last one? Next slide. There she is. Yeah, so this is what I'm working on now. It's like more prosthetics, more real people. This one is like really real, so I can't really get into like the details of like who or what this character is on this call, but yeah, a lot of my practice does involve sculpture and fabrication. So that's a head mold of somebody, and then these are prosthetic pieces in these other molds to the right image, and then they're applied to my face in the next slide. Just like that. So you paint them to look like skin and you put them on. And then on the top left is the subject in a head cast. And so with me, I think what I'll leave this on is like there's a lot of different aspects of my practice that are physical and digital, and a lot of things in my practice that are like really authentic and really synthetic. And so for me, it's like, how do those things come together, right? Like how can I take these physical things and these digital things, and both of them are like kind of rough and like not perfect, and make something that's like, that's beautiful because only I'm capable of making it. Like it's my vision, it's my thing. And so like sometimes being in the cleanest or the highest quality sound or like whatever best color grading, like I'm not doing that. You know, that's how the work is authentic in a way. So it's not all an illusion for me, but yeah, I think that's it. So thank you.
That is so exciting to hear from both of you. Thank you so much. Kelli, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind. I wanted to jump straight in with questions about social media, and I'm really happy that you brought up like power struggle within social media. Um, my question is a little convoluted, but here we go. So, like the evolution of social media over the years, they're basically already curated spaces by default that you kind of sign up to participate in. And then the algorithm kind of takes over and kind of tells you what you should be doing in that space, whether you like it or not. Have you been able to use that to your benefit, or have you been like fighting against it to turn it into what you need it to be?
Well, I think it's the algorithm. It's interesting because the algorithm has changed how we think about social media like so much. Because even Instagram in 2015 is different than now. Like you actually could see the people you follow, and now I see more people that I don't follow, I feel like, than anything. Because they're like, you should want to watch this. And I'm like, sometimes I really don't. I somehow ended up on like Mom Talk for a second, and I don't have any kids, and I was like, why? And I think it's because I like crafts, and I'm like, how did this happen? So I'm always curious what I like and seeing the like how it influences. Um, I feel like I now, for some reason, I've told Instagram that I like Key and Peele sketches, and so I like it, and now I get it more and more. So I'm like, I feel like I'm hacking the algorithm a little bit. But I mean, anytime I feel like during any global issue, you can tell that the algorithm is very different. To the point where I have a whole different account that is all just I like to play Sims, and so I and I like to play games, and so I have a one that only like likes and follows that kind of work because I feel like I'm bombarded with negative things during unrest just because I do like that kind of content sometimes. And so I feel like the algorithm is I'm always curious about who's the opposite person of me, what their algorithm is. And like to the point where I've gone to like right-wing pages and just like look to see what like comes up after that. And I don't know if it's I'm just fascinated by it. I don't know if that answers your question at all, but the algorithm I feel like is very problematic in how we because I felt like I follow people that I don't even see my cousins or my family or my friends anymore. I feel like I see this idea of what Instagram thinks I am based off of how I exist in the digital space, I guess. And so it's fascinating for my work, but I think it is a problem. So, which is
Yeah,
one reason why this is true. I wanted it to be kind of random types of shows because I felt like it was supposed to reflect this randomness of the algorithm sometimes, but now I'm realizing it's less and less random. But during that time when I first thought of the idea, I feel like it was more random, if that makes sense.
it
So,
does, and it completely answers my question. I'm just thinking of when I need something or I'm looking for something very specific, I will intentionally hover over those videos a little longer or just do one search, and then knowing that in a few days I'll get way more of that information coming through my feed. So
mhm.
like hacking it that way to kind of get what you want, but that's the savvy way of existing. Sometimes you just want to scroll and just be mindless. I have a follow-up question if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Um, so talking about these curated spaces, you're constantly at a computer or on your phone on a scale of a screen, which is pretty user-friendly and accessible.
Mhm.
And then you have this opportunity to exhibit. How do you play with scale, and what is your idealized scale if you had zero restrictions?
Because I work in miniature work, I like my stuff to be really big. Like if money was not an option, I would have just like huge, like mural size images, just because I feel like it's interesting to see something small, big, in my opinion. And then at one point, especially with the series Onlooker, I wanted them to be the scale of almost a human. So because I wanted them to feel like you're looking at a person. So I usually work in pretty large prints because I like to have that kind of connection. But it's funny because then they put up a small screen to activate the print, but I still feel like the experience feels like you're looking at something large, even though the animation part of it is on the screen. But that's one reason why I definitely work larger for sure. Because the prints of my most recent series, they're 40 by 72, and that's because the printer was the highest it can go was 44. So that was
Restrictions.
yeah.
And I always wonder about that because, when you're working on like a desktop computer, a monitor, and then you're doing test prints or you're looking at something on your phone, it's always perceived um, by most people, that's how most people see it. Like the majority of your viewers for your work and for all of our works won't necessarily be in a museum or a gallery. It'll be
Yeah.
the digital version because they didn't make it. It's across the country, it's down the road, and they didn't want to walk that far. It's, yeah, so when you see it in a different scale, I'm always surprised by viewing it in the flesh, I suppose.
Yeah.
Hmm. Jake, tell me about your screen time. I'm either for like research or like your daily exposure. Is it an addiction? Has it changed over the
Oh my
years?
gosh.
Has it changed over the years with your practice? I've got questions and I want to start there.
I don't know. I mean, what do you like? How much time do I spend looking at my phone?
Well, it's a
Or
form of research for the majority of your work, I'm thinking too. Plus you have the tangible side, absolutely, absolutely. But
yeah,
you're both making screen work, works on with video, and you're sourcing through like a whole bunch of films and internet culture. So doesn't that mean to get that ingrained to use in your research, you're spending a lot of time with screens?
yeah.
Or am I wrong?
No, I mean, I guess you're right. I wouldn't, okay, I'll put it like this. Like, there are people that like I go to dinner with and they're on their phone, like looking at their phone.
Right,
And I'm like, we're never gonna hang out again, probably.
right.
This is probably the end of our relationship. Like I'm not like that. Like that's insane. I do look at it like, especially if I'm like really tired or I've been working a lot, like I just want to like lay and like look at it. And it's strange because and I really related to something that Kelly said earlier, where it's like a lot of it is like I make a lot of friends on it too. Like a lot of people that I have met like on Instagram or like when I was a kid, I would play, and actually more recently again, I started playing World of Warcraft, but I would like make friends on that and Neopets. And so like I have had like really nice relationships with people online. Also had bad relationships with people online, right? Because they're like emboldened to sort of like say different things to you because it's like they
Mm.
don't have to, there's like an anonymity thing. Yeah. And yeah, so but in terms of like how I feel like I don't really have like a complex about feeling bad about like looking at my phone, right? Like I feel bad about other things I do, like, but I don't feel bad about I don't know, like because a lot of it I think is funny, like especially there's like there was like gay Twitter culture is now like on Instagram and like a lot of humor and things that are like adapted um from online I just think are funny and like I don't know. So I enjoy it a lot. There are like specific things, like the thing with Big Brother, that I'm like specifically that's like a research element. Like if I'm or like watching the Amanda show, like I'm 30 years old. I have no like I'm watching that for my work. You know what I mean? I would like to not watch it. So there's elements of that, right? But then there's like my daily normal stuff that I use to like communicate and like connect with people through like this is like a funny thing or oh my God, this is how I'm acting out at work. There's all this stuff of like your coworker who's insane, right? And like I'm like, that's me. So yeah.
And that's why I'm so fascinated with it, I think, is because there are so many generations that will just not be able to relate to it. Not that they need to. They definitely don't need to. We all have our things that we gravitate towards. But I think in different oh, there's so many different niches that we can just get completely absorbed in for the better. And when you get it. And it's just such a different activation in the brain when you're in that gallery space. You're like making the connections as you navigate through it. And like some of them I get and some of them I don't. And that's completely age related.
There's a great Easter egg in the first image of the slide for this presentation, where the people are watching the video and one of them has their phone out. And if you zoom in, they're looking at a picture of Amanda Bynes now. Like they were using that to compare the look with the source, right? Which I love. I thought that was incredible.
That's, I love Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Could I ask you both a question at the same time? And not too sure how you want to chime in with this, but um, so Jake, you've got prosthetics, so you're physically altering yourself for lots of your like productions, right? And your work. And then Kelly, you're creating puppets essentially. And I don't think puppets necessarily is maybe that's the wrong word. It doesn't feel right for what I don't know why, but they are representations of self in some way. Um, can you two kind of talk to like the effectiveness or like is one they're both vessels for getting your ideas across. Is there one that achieves something better or worse than the other?
Kelly, you can go first 'cause I just talked for so long.
I don't know.
Or
I mean, I don't know if there's a better or worse. I think they're
or
different.
compare pros and cons, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing that is difficult with stop motion puppets is to get well, it's a little bit more difficult to get like natural, like nuanced performance. And that's one thing that I feel like when I was looking at Jake work, like I just feel like there was a like such a like to like your face and everything was like even subtleties and like things that I felt like you can't get in a stop motion
Mm.
puppet, which I thought was really cool. Um, but which is one reason why I also want to try to do a 3D like scan and see if I can like do this is like a this is one of the things I wanted to do at IEA, I think. But it was like that's one thing that I want to think about. The performance of a puppet is limited, I feel like. And so I think there's more to explore with that, but I feel like There, my most recent puppet, I actually used a image of myself as a way to produce the like head that I cast. Our processes are actually really similar because I cast my puppets too. And probably using similar actual materials too, because I use silicone and latex. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a better or worse. I think it's very different. I like to pull like I'm now starting to pull them apart so you can see the like engineering of them.
Hmm.
I don't know how easy that would be with a human being, but I don't know. 3D, that could be kind of interesting. I don't know if
Sounds
that
very,
answers the
very
question
dark.
at all.
It did, it
Uh,
completely did, it completely did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's where like the craftsmanship comes into play, right? Where it's like we're not making Hollywood movies, right? And like that should be an advantage when it can be, right? Like, it's really stressful for me to like make these projects and act in them and direct them and write them and edit them, but it allows for so many different aspects of like my craft to like come in and patch holes up or create like a moment out of a problem. And so it's like yeah, like if you want to set someone on fire, you can't do that to the actor. You need to like do it with a puppet, right? Like there's things with a puppet that you can do that you can't do to a person. Um, and so, which is something I'm trying to figure out right now, literally. Like I was shooting with an actor 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I wish that we could just set you on fire just for like for fake. And he was like, I was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm still figuring out how to do that, but I think, that's where like being an artist and that being this kind of an artist comes into play, right? Where like you are making video work. And when I write a script or and I do like the planning for to like really go into this, I put a lot of pressure on myself to like, how do you figure this out? Because my reference for it is cinematic. Like I'm thinking about like right now I'm thinking about true crime and documentaries and like how those things are made and produced and shot. I'm like, how are people getting money to make this garbage? And I can't like, what is going on? So my reference for it is off. And then like I'm writing it with that reference. Like I'm writing it like, of course a crane shot is possible. Of course the fire thing is possible. Of course the acting is going to be like Meryl Streep, like of course. And then when it comes out and it like is falling apart, you go into the edit and that's where like it really becomes like one of my projects because I'm like really like doing scans and digitally animating things. I'm like reshooting on green screen. I'm cropping them together. I'm like really like smushing the material together and solving those problems like that way. So like yeah, my long answer is sort of there's different moments for different things. There's different moments like different like actors are like a material in a way.
It seems like it comes down to maybe spontaneity. Things you could do in the flesh, a quick retake would take hours with stop motion, days potentially, right? Um, ooh, thank you for answering that one. Blue, please, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I did have a little note here that I wanted to ask Jake first. Um, when I watch your work, Jake, like I have this kind of push-pull experience. Like, the colors are so luscious and the scenes are so juiced up and fast cuts and fast pace. The audio's kind of in and out. It pulls me in, it really sucks me in and pulls me along. But then there are these moments of the grotesque where I'm really kind of cringed out. So I'm wondering, one, if this, is this a sort of a, a, a duality that you have developed over time? Has it just come naturally to you to kind of deal with I think you called a cute horror just a moment ago. I think you referred to stop motion as sometimes cute horror, or something like
The
that.
puppets in particular, because they're
Puppets,
like little
yeah, yeah, yeah.
monstrosities. They're so
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah. So I wonder, how you deal with duality in your work and especially the kind of proportion or where you're balancing and where you're cutting off the grotesque so it's not all that.
Oh, I mean, it's honestly just not to like go back to like the authenticity and like the show title again, but it's just me. It's really that's just kind of like how I am. And I like when I I like when people are real and you can be like there's no like bullshit. And so I think that that's where it kind of comes in is that I'm like taking a hit at myself in a way because I'm like making this project and I'm aware that it's as it's being made, my perception of it is that it's like falling apart, right? And it's like that's kind of and then when I'm editing it, I'm like acknowledging that again. I'm acknowledging that I'm like one person trying to make a movie, which is crazy and not possible. And so I don't like I haven't had this moment where I'm like, oh, that's really this thing I'm doing right now, I am kind of like starting to feel like that because some of it is kind of is really bad, but that's like, something I'll deal with in therapy or something. I don't know. But I mean, if it has to happen, it has to happen. There's no, it's like almost out of my control. You know what I mean? It's out of my control. For me, if it makes sense, it makes sense. I think about it all the time. I sleep on it. I think about it. I'm thinking about it right now as I'm talking about something else, So it's just if it makes sense, it makes sense. Like I'm not like tallying like um beauty and horror and all this stuff. I'm like, it works, it works.
When did you start kind of sampling internet TV culture the way that you are?
And when I was an undergraduate, I made a lot of work about my family. And I'm going to again, like as an adult. But I think that that was like an avenue for a very young person to sort of like express maybe some frustrations or some like issues. And then I found that when I was really, it was easier and like more effective to do that. Not that like my work is about like my family, but like it kind of is. Uh, but like if it was easier to do that, like if I could dress up and and like and like adapt to somebody else that I related to, or and wear that as like a costume, but like not really. Like there's a lot of stuff, in there that's really reminiscent of that early work that I was making. So, but I would say like 2023, that's when I was like, started really leaning into like, I have these things I'm interested in that no one else is talking about, and I'm going to share them with other people.
Cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Miles, can I chime in with a question for Kelly?
Please.
Cool. Kelly, I found myself chuckling at the broccoli, is it friend or foe headline. I keep I keep poking my head into the space where the piece is playing, and I end up walking in there while that little headline shows up on screen. Broccoli, friend or foe. It's really funny. But my question for you is a bit more pragmatic, and relates to your teaching. Like, it seems like you've really been grappling with social implications of social media, the mental health implications for a long time, and you've seen multiple, classes of students come through your programs and move on. And I wonder, how you're relaying and teaching and discussing some of your concerns with your students, and what that dialogue is like.
Um, well, it's interesting because the students, I'm noticing their interests change and what they do on social media changes. Because at one point I would talk about, I would have a lesson where we were talking about memes and GIFs and we talk about the history and then we were making them in Photoshop and it was one point, and there was like I realized there was a shift in students that they had no idea, like they didn't care about gifts anymore at all. Like they were like, we don't, like they was like, we never send those. Like my mom does, and I was like, because I love gifts. So I was like, oh, I'm old, cool, thanks. I just found that out, and I would talk about though, like this idea of digital blackface and this idea of what we share and from marginalized communities, because those are the things I think about. And I realized that that conversation is not I mean, we still kind of hint on it, but it's a little different now how we talk about it. I don't have them read the same article. I also think students are more aware now than when in the beginning about specifically how, you know, they're a little more aware about how the internet affects identity and mental health, even if they, I don't know if I don't monitor, I don't care what they do on their own. Not saying I don't care, but I don't think talk about that. But I think about it as a creative, like how to not contribute to like things negatively. And it seems like they're more aware. So the conversations now are a little bit more, they're just different and they're not introductory, they're more robust, I would say. And so we talk about it through more of an artistic lens than because at one point students like they actually debated if digital blackface was a thing when I first introduced it in 2000. I guess that was 2017 is when I first started. I think it was a year I first started teaching. And now it's like, yeah, that's bad. That was kind of like how they was like, yeah, this is what it is. And they were explaining it to maybe international students who didn't understand the language of it. But students, they're more aware. Um, so I think that's definitely something that's changed. But now it's, I think the conversations around mental health and social media is probably a little bit more prevalent, if that makes sense in the class. So, but
All right.
yeah, I definitely found out I was old. They was like, I never sent a GIF, and one student sent it on their phone. They was like, oh, that was cute. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this needs to shift. And it'll probably shift again because my niece uses it completely differently than my students from, my seniors now. And she's a senior in high school, and my seniors in college are it's just very different. So,
I've just recently
yeah.
learned about a film called The Luddite Club, and it's a documentary made by a teacher who is interviewing a group of her students who are choosing to, really step back their technology intake, the devices they use. Of course, they're off social media. They're making intentional choices at like the high school age um, to become, Luddites. Um, and so I'm always interested when I speak to educators if they're encountering um, younger folks who are making really hard lines or drawing hard lines and actually really retreating from uh, whatever it may be, screen time in general, writ large. Are you encountering that at all?
Not in my classes. They still seem pretty on their cell phones. We'll have to announce it in the class to like put it down. I'll encourage like it's actually interesting because there's students who type papers on phones and they don't submit their work on computers. They'll submit it on the app on their phone. So when it doesn't work like on the computer, if there's some issue, they didn't realize that because they are only using their phones,
Hmm.
which I found strange because that is not, I would never write a paper like a text. Like that just feels so difficult for me to do. I can't like even when I do it for emails, it's like, oh, this is like, let me focus. So, um, I don't know. In my class, I also teach new media. So the class that they have to take, everything's digital. So there is this kind of, they have to be digital in my class. So I haven't noticed anyone talking really negatively. I have noticed them being a little bit more apprehensive about digital art medias. Like some of them are like, I am a painter. I want to paint. I don't want to do digital. But I haven't encountered it in my sections yet. But they have been resistant to like if when I teach augmented reality, I thought students would be like, I love this. And it's like a couple, and then some's like, okay, I probably won't ever do that again because I prefer to like go draw, in which I think is fine. But yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
That's been the general vibe with the Alfred students, which really kind of shocked me. The resistance to technology. And on the semi-flip side of that, where the heck's my phone? This is 90% of my existence until I need to do something important, like book a flight, or I need to go to the big computer. And why is that? And that's not a question necessarily for you to answer, but important things on the big computer, like writing a paper or submitting a really important email would be, you switching up devices a little bit. Hmm. Do we have time for one final question, Blue? Is that okay? Um, Jake touched on this as well, the idea of labor to produce all the work that you're producing and how um, you can't really do it alone necessarily, but even if you do, it still seems to be working for you. But but Kelly, can you tell us about the labor involved in not just the stop motion? Do you work with other people as well? And Jake, the same. I know you have actors that you pull into your pieces. How much is you, and how much is sometimes it is just you and your pieces, right? But what's this the collaboration and how much is labor pulled into your work and how they maybe look very different for both of you?
Well, I almost do almost everything on my own, which
Mm.
is one part of the well, that's one reason why I like stop motion. Somebody called it like they called it like the greediest art form because you have to do so many things. Like you have to paint, then you build, and then you're writing a script, and then you're casting, and then you're editing, and you're build. It's like almost every art medium is in stop motion, which also is the reason why it takes so long to do my work. But I am now hoping to move towards like when I do commission work, that'll be a little bit more collaborative because usually my timeline's not as long. And then I have money to pay people to do stuff, and that's always a factor. So I've worked with little tiny like costume designer where she would like make all my puppet outfits, and I've worked with like digital sculptors and things, but most of the work I do myself, which I like because it's like when I'm once I'm bored, I'm like, okay, now I'm tired of building sets. Now I'm making patterns for my little puppets, or now I'm tired of that, and now I'm animating, or now I'm lighting, or so I really jump around a lot. Like I have to do like a day, well, not a day because it takes a lot of days to do certain things, but like every month or every couple of weeks, like I'm probably if I'm really working consistently on something, I'm probably doing something different,
Right.
which I really like. So really labor intensive. I mean, it takes forever, but I think that's one reason why I got into stop motion because I originally liked film photography. Like I started with black and white, like digital, like I mean not digital, darkroom photography. And I liked being in the darkroom. That's one reason why I liked it so much. And then I moved to digital and I was bored. I was like, I took the picture, I edited it a little bit and I was done. And
Mm.
I like things that take long and I like the process of it. So that's when I started doing like photo manipulations and then I found my way to stop motion, which I love, which a lot of my stop motion projects still end up as photos. So
Right.
it's I would probably consider myself a photographer before an animator, but I would just say an artist, but so
It goes hand in hand. So yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I
Should
yeah.
should I say like
Uh, yeah,
like
please.
what I wait like what it's like to work with these people?
Um, I want to say yes, because I think you mentioned before that it's primarily you, but not in everything that you're doing. Like
No,
you write
yeah,
it, you direct it.
I have like friends that I work with. That's why I went with like act that like they're not really actors. Um, but yeah, but I work with them. And but it's interesting because I'll have like little like I'll have like people I'm interested in, and then I'll go and like like almost like scouting or casting. We'll do like a date, like a friend thing, and I'll just sort of see what's up, like see how they are on the cuff, what they're like telling stories and stuff. And it's usually like it's a pretty nice relationship. Like they get pretty into it. And a lot of it is people who like come to the shows and they want to be in it and they want to be a part of it, which is fantastic. And then they
You're
get all the
secretly casting people.
all the
Secretly.
time, all the time. Except for people that I'm like related to, in which case they really have no choice. And then I'll have like my husband when we started dating, I was like, "Can you hold the camera for this thing?" And you just make things work, you know.
Right.
And also like it's yes, I do everything. It's I get a lot of help from places like you guys and whatever.
Thank you.
Well, Jake and Kelly, is there anything else that you would like to add about your works in the show or about the about where first you should definitely end by telling everybody where they can find you. Before we get to that, is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered yet? Kelly first.
Really just that it was great seeing Jake's work. I can see how they ended up being like we were in the same show. It's very different, but I feel like I'm a new fan now. I'm about to go look at all your stuff because I want to finish that video. As soon as you said Amanda Bynes, I was like, yes, the Amanda show. So I think just thank you for choosing my work to be in the show. But yeah, I think that's everything. I haven't, I feel like this is one piece that I haven't really talked about a lot. So it was nice to kind of really think about how it connected with the rest of my body of work. So I appreciate it. And you can find me on Instagram at K Shantae. I believe you posted it in the chat earlier. And then my website is kellyswilliams.com. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, everything that Kelly just said. So nice, like to be able to meet Kelly and like hear more about your work. And it to me, this was such a nice part of my day, right? Where it's like you get to share things with like each other and other people. And it's so nice that you guys were able to put us together and have us. And thank you for including me as well. My and I will be following Kay Shate. I am Jake Brush, JAKE __ BRUSH. And I have a website, jakebrush.com. And that's it. Thank you guys.
Thank you both for joining us in this call. And thank you, Myles, for putting together such a thoughtful pairing of artists and artworks.
Oh, thank you as always. I feel very fortunate that I'm able to scheme at work all the time and make these great connections happen. And I'll be amiss if I say I need to say thank you to the Shine Joseph Endowment and the School of Art and Design at Alfred University who makes all of this possible. And of course, RoCo. Thanks, Bleu.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.